This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com. And today I have a man that is a former WCW cruiserweight television and tag team champion, and he currently has a wrestling school in Germany. Alex Wright, how are you doing today, sir?
Very, very good. Achtung, Achtung! This is Alex Wright. Greetings to my Canadian fans over there.
Very good. That's more of an intense promo than I remember you doing when you first joined WCW.
Well, I was very young at that time, right? I was 18 years old. Not that much experience with promos and stuff like that.
So your father was a wrestler, right? How did you enjoy growing up in a family where your father was in the business?
Well, actually, it was the best thing for me because, hold on for a sec. My camera is...
Oh, I just take myself out of the screen when people answer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No. I want to see you. It's better. Let me see you.
Okay.
Because then I just see my face, and that's weird talking to myself,
Okay. No problem.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great because I grew up on the road, which means I traveled from city to city, and I lived in a caravan and or in hotels, and it always was beside the arena, close by.
Okay.
So the best playground for me as a kid was the wrestling ring, and my dad brought me to the ring. I don't know, I was maybe a year old, and from that moment on, I just stayed in the ring, played around, and one day I knew this is gonna be the life I want to live. I wanted to become a pro wrestler.
What was the business like back then? Because you mentioned the trailers that you would live in. Would you be in a location for a period of time?
Yes, my dad wrestled for CWA, which means Catch Wrestling Association. It was the biggest promotion, German Austrian promotion in Europe. Just to get an idea how big it was, 1994 they sold out the arena in Bremen, which holds about 12,000 spectators. So it was a really big company, and this company toured in Germany and in Austria, and they always stayed like for a couple weeks in one city because they had tournaments. So you had to wrestle every night, which is very good for experience. And the longest tournament was in Vienna, Austria, and in Germany it was in Hanover. They had like I think almost 2 months tournament every night. So it was great for me, And yeah, my dad, he wrestled all over the world. I'm a second generation wrestler for fans out there which don't know that. My father's name is Steve Wright. He wrestled for New Japan. He wrestled for the big companies in Mexico. He wrestled for Vern Gagne. That was at the time where in the States they still had the territories before WWF went big, Then he wrestled for Stu Hart in Canada, which is the father of Owen and Bret Hart. And he wrestled all over Europe, Asia, all kind of places. And also my uncle, Bernard Wright, he was a very famous international wrestler. He wrestled all over the world. My dad wrestled the big names in New Japan, like Inoki and stuff. The big companies in Mexico, he wrestled Mascara and all kind of guys over there. So he traveled the world, and he learned all kind of different styles. He was raised by a guy named Mr. Ted Bedley. He was a promoter and owner of a wrestling school also, and he trained the British Bulldogs. And
is that in Wigan?
yeah, my dad wrestled in Wigan also. At that time they also had those shoot fighting you know.
Yeah.
And every every Sunday he had to fight some guy. You know, that was how he got really tough. You know. Yeah, I'm by the my. So I was growing up on the road, and every time I had a chance to step in the ring, I went with my father in the ring, and it was never training to me. It was always like playing around, you know. And there was never a question in my mind if I'm gonna become a wrestler. That was just clear for me. I was never pressured by my dad. I mean, he always said I can do whatever I want as long as I'm gonna be happy. But yeah, that was my life. I just enjoyed sitting in the empty arena, watching the people coming in, how the arena fills up with all the people. Then how the beginning of the show is, all the different matches at night. I watched a lot of, I mean, almost every match from my dad, and many guys like David Taylor, Fit Finlay, Owen Hart, Terry Funk, Vader, um, who was also there? Justin from the Liga. I mean, many big stars wrestled for CWA. So I think at that time it helped me already to learn the sport just by watching, also, you know. And yeah, I just trained and had fun in the ring. Plus, I did a lot of amateur wrestling. Had many tournaments in amateur wrestling. I did submission wrestling and weightlifting competitions, and also I did competition swimming. So I did a lot of sports in my youth. And with the age of 16, I had my first professional wrestling match. I was in Wuppertal, Germany for CWA.
Were you able to go to school at all during this at a regular school, or were you kind of homeschooled since you were on the
Well,
ropes?
the first couple years, yes, but then I had to go to school, so I only had the chance to visit my dad on the weekends and or on my holidays.
Okay. So I guess you had already been around the business. So how was the transition to actually becoming a wrestler? Did they give you a hard time breaking in so young?
Well, at that time it was a different time. It was really hard to get in the business, and I mean, I was fortunate that my dad was Steve Wright. I mean, he's a 16-time middleweight champion for CWA. I mean, he filled big houses with spectators. He multiple European tag team champion. He wrestled for all other companies and hold championship titles. So he had a very good name in that sport, Steve Wright. Uh, I mean, he wrestled in New Japan, Tiger Mask, and all kind of stuff, you know. And so it was easier for me to get a tryout match than for probably anybody else. But of course, the promoter and all the colleagues, they had high expectations on me because my dad wrestled, my uncle wrestled, so it was a lot of pressure on my side to follow in his footsteps. And apparently, I did my first match, so to say, okay, good. I mean, I think every rookie has some fuck ups in the first match, but overall, they were very satisfied, and they offered me a 1-year contract to wrestle for CWA.
Oh, so they actually contracted people in that company. It wasn't just pay by the night.
Yeah, it was paid by the night, but they just wanted to make sure that you don't just leave to a different company because they had those tournaments, and they wanted to make sure that you are for a certain time on the contract to participate in those tournaments.
Okay. Who were some of the names in Germany around that time that fans in Canada might recognize?
Well, Fit Finlay, uh, William or Steve Regal, JBL, Lance Storm, um, the Enforcer was there. but it wasn't Arn Anderson. It was a different guy. Scott Hall was there.
Oh
Vader.
wow.
I mean, a lot of guys which you saw later on TV. A lot of Japanese guys also.
What was JBL like in those days?
He had a cowboy gimmick in CWA. Very great worker and entertainer. Very stiff, solid worker. But that's how I like to wrestle, because in Germany or in Europe they work more solid at that time. And I remember a match I had against JBL, and he had that big cow rope, or how you say, a rope for the cows, a
Yeah.
very thick rope, and he put it around my neck and threw me over the top rope and strangled me. But he didn't count in that the ring was much higher than the usual ring, so my feet didn't touch the ground. So he actually
Oh wow.
took me real,
He hung you.
Yeah. So yeah, it was tough. No, I had fun. I mean, it was a good time over there.
It's called a lasso, I guess. One of the fans is helping us out here.
Okay.
Was JBL, was this before he would be a backstage bully? I guess he'd be new. He was new to the business then, so he would. I'm gonna guess he was probably pretty humble in those years.
I don't know if he was that new in the business. I think he's been around a while there, and he always was nice to me. I mean, I can't say anything bad about it. But actually, I got along with 99% of all kind of colleagues in the business. I think if they know that you respect the sport like they do, and you have the passion for the sport like they have, maybe it's different. And it's probably because I'm a second generation wrestler. Maybe it was different then.
How was Finley to work with? Because you always hear that he was another guy that was very stiff.
Yeah, Finley's unbelievable, great worker, and I always enjoyed working him. I mean, I think my second match or my third match was against him. I wrestled many times against him, and I think in the third match he knocked me out by accident. And and they have round system over here in CWA, 5 rounds. So when the break was, I said to my dad, "Fuck, I was just knocked out," and he said, "Don't worry, kid, just keep going." That's how my dad was. Yeah, no, it was. I learned a lot every time I stepped in the ring with Finley.
It's not like today where you'll be out a month or two if you get a concussion.
No, you didn't think about concussions at that time. I mean, you might had a headache or whatever, and then you know drink a few beers and German beers, and then it's good.
Did the fans ever challenge the wrestlers in bars or anything in those years? Or
Well, they had something going on that guys which wanted to challenge a wrestler, they could come in the morning in the arena, and my dad had to try them out.
okay,
So that's how they had guys, which meant they are whatever better than a wrestler or whatever. But in the bars and stuff like that, no, German fans are very cool, just like the Americans or the Canadian fans.
someone on here is a big Ronnie Garvin fan and is asking what the German fans think of him as a wrestler. Was he ever over in that area of the world?
I don't know that name, so I can't say
Oh,
anything about it.
he was probably before your time in WCW, but he beat Ric Flair for the NWA title
Okay,
um,
okay.
around the mid '80s for
Well,
a bit.
he wasn't over here in Germany.
Did you wrestle Vader in Germany before WCW at all?
That's a long time ago. It could be. I mean, at that time he was Bull Power. His gimmick name was over here, and No, I don't think so. That was before I started with CWA. Yeah.
Brutus Beefcake told me a story that he was really over in Germany. Could you confirm that at all? Or
Nope, I can't confirm that. I'm
okay.
sorry, but that doesn't mean that it's not true. I mean,
Yeah,
like I said,
it would have been
it was
before
a very short
WWE.
time here in Germany, and there were a couple companies. Maybe he wrestled for a different company, not for CWA. Um, and the other thing was, CWA had a couple times fly-ins from the States for big tournaments like Terry Funk and stuff like that. And I'm sure if he would have performed, people would have liked him. So I guess it's true, yes.
What brought you over to WCW? Because you were signed very young at around 19, which might be the youngest person ever signed to WCW.
Actually, I was 18 when it was signed. And the thing was, like I
Oh,
said
I
before,
think you.
I had my first professional match at the age of 16 in Germany, and I was the youngest pro wrestler in Germany at that time, and one of the youngest in Europe. And I got a lot of media attention, and was invited to a lot of talk shows, TV shows, radio stations, all kind of stuff. And there was a big TV show, talk show, Schreinemakers Live, and I was invited there at the age of 16, and for the topic wrestling. And at the age of 18, they invited me again to this kind of topic. And they also invited Johnny B. Bad and Sting because WCW ran a Germany tour at that time. And I met those guys, and they were very nice to me. And the PR manager, Alan Sharp, came up to me and said, "Hey, listen, kid, why don't you come to the show in Munich? We would like to invite you." And my dad, being in the business for so many years, I mean, 26 years all over the world, he said, "Hey, listen, kid, you never know what's going to happen. Take your wrestling gear with you," which I, of course, did. Because my dad always said you have to have respect for the veterans, respect for your trainers, respect for the promoters, and of course respect for the fans. So I respected my dad, not just being my dad, because he's my trainer, veteran. So I took my gear with me, and yeah, that was the day I was at the right spot at the right time. One of the WCW guys was injured, and Ric Flair, at the time Booker, came up to me and said, "Hey, would you like to have a match that night?" Of course, I took my chance because I thought it's going to be only one night, so have fun. And I wrestled Paul Roma that night, and it was a really, really good match. I really enjoyed it. And also Rick came up to me and said, "Hey, listen, that was very good. Would you like to finish the tour with us?" And I couldn't believe my chance. And of course, I said, "Yeah, of course." So I did all those remaining shows with them in Germany. And the last day, they came up to me, Ric Flair and Eric Bischoff was flown in, and he said, "Hey, we would like to offer you a contract. Would you like to take that chance?" And in my mind, I already said yes, but I already had a contract for CWA. So I had to decide in 1 week and give them feedback if I'm going to take that offer. So I had to talk to CWA, and they were very helpful. I mean, they said, "Okay, no problem. We want to help you and support you for this big chance." And they let me out of the contract. And then I signed the contract with WCW, and then I had to move to the States at the age of 18 by myself, and had just 1 week to leave the country. Yeah.
Wow, so your work visa came through pretty fast then.
Well, actually, the first thing was a regular tourist visa when I went over there.
Oh, okay.
Afterwards, yeah. No, I was flown over there, and then they managed everything from that moment on. But that was actually one of the hardest times in my life. The first few months moving to the States, being that young, and I was already engaged at that time and a fiancé, and yeah, just leaving. I didn't know, if we're gonna stay together or not or whatever. Then I didn't know anybody over there. I was 18. In the States, you're an adult with the age of 21. I was foreigner and German, so it wasn't that easy at the beginning.
Oh, so you couldn't even drink when you were over in the States, and you're coming from Germany, where after the
Nope,
matches you'd be allowed to
no,
go out to the bars
no.
and
Yeah, no. Well, that's very weird because in Germany I started drinking like was 14, 15. That's just normal over here. Have your first experiences, drink a couple beers and stuff like that. In the States was totally different. But after the first 9 months, which were very hard getting accepted in the WCW roster and stuff like that, um, I got along with a lot of guys there, and I went out with them and I partied with them, and I was allowed to enter the clubs and stuff like that because of the the bouncers knew me from WCW and stuff like that, but I couldn't get any drinks, no hard liquor. So what I had to do is I went to the restrooms, and my colleagues, like Bagwell and Disco or Sting or whoever, they bought the drink, came to the restroom, I had to act, drink it, and then left. So I was shit faced like
ah.
during 10 minutes.
As far as when you first joined WCW, did they make you train at the power plant at all, or were you brought right onto television?
No, at the beginning I had to join the power plant, um, which was okay, because there was a lot of nice guys down there, and the trainers were very good and tough trainers. Um, but that's like a parking lot or parking space. If they don't have a spot on TV for you, they put you in a power plant, you know, to stay in shape and whatever. Um, and that was fine. Uh, I mean, I learned a lot of guys down there. I met a lot of guys, which I wrestled later on TV, and they were all cool guys there. So it was a good experience at that time.
Who was the head trainer at the power plant at the time?
Jody Hamilton.
Okay.
He was the assassin back in the day, and his um, Nick Patrick, the referee, was his son in WCW.
Was Paul Orndorff in the power plant at that time, or was that later on that he started training people there?
That was later on. That was when the power plant moved to a different spot. He was down there also. Yeah, yeah.
As far as your debut, what was it like being actually brought on TV into that company?
Well, personal, it was great feeling. Just having this chance of a lifetime, being in a big company, wrestle all kind of superstars at that young age. Um, at first it was a little bit overwhelming because I mean, I knew a lot of styles. I knew the European wrestling style, I knew the American, the Japanese, and the Mexican style, and also I did a lot of amateur wrestling. So sorry for that.
No, it's okay. It
uh,
sounds kind of like the type of music that you would dance to.
yeah, watch out, I'm gonna start dancing.
Yeah.
No, oh come on, I can't take
You
it.
must get people that ask you to dance all the time.
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah, sometimes when I do a training match at my wrestling school, I show them a couple moves, dance move. But anyway, yeah, I was. I mean, all the colleagues in that company, they were all older than me. I mean, the youngest were Bagwell, and Bagwell was at that time, I think, 28, and I was like 18 or something like that, or he was 26, and everybody else was like 30 and up. So it was hard to get respect, and I just had to show them that I have the passion for the sport, and I respect the sport, and I'm eager to learn, and I just want to do good and have good matches. And after a while, I think they realized that, and then everybody was nice to me. But at the beginning, like I said, everybody, nobody talked to me, and yeah, I couldn't even rent a car. I mean, I got the plane ticket from WCW and said, okay, be at that time at that building. It was like 3 hours away from the airport, so I always had to find somebody who would give me a ride, but nobody at the beginning wanted to give me a ride. So the road agents or whatever were running around and asking guys if they would give me a lift, and that was kind of, how you say, it's a weird feeling, And I remember Johnny B. Bad later on, Mark Merrow, Wildman Mark Merrow, he said, hey, I give that kid a ride, and he was a really nice guy. I mean, he helped me out so much, and I was traveling with him a lot of times, and then I started traveling with Sting and Bagwell and Luger, and later on I traveled with Kidman also, and Disco, Riggs, and or Eddie Guerrero, Chavo Guerrero, Di Malenko, and those guys, So I got along with them. At the end, it was perfect. I mean, like I said, I got along with everybody, and but the first 9 months was hard because WCW didn't pay me at first. Somehow they forgot about whatever, And one day I had so much, I lost so much money. I said to myself, man, I can lose money in Germany. I don't have to be in the States to lose money. And I mean, my parents and my grandma sent me money over just that I could survive. I had jobs like I was a bouncer, and I was like driving people from the airport to the hotels and stuff like that just to get some money. And then I said, no, I can't do that anymore. I went to the WCW office and had no appointment. And I just rushed in the office from Aggie Bischoff and said, hey, Eric, either pay me or I leave the country because I can, lose money in Germany also. And from that moment on, they start paying me. But that wasn't that much because you have these expenses at home and the expenses on the road. So I had to pay all the bills for the apartment, stuff like that, and and then on the road you rent a car, you all that stuff. I mean, I couldn't rent a car, but I paid the colleagues my share fare, and it was tough, and I just tried to save money. I ate one time a day or just slept on the floor in the hotel room or whatever, just to save money. First 9 months were hard, and then it was cool. But then it was the best time of my life, working for WCW, traveling the world, get to know a lot of different cultures and stuff like that.
Was it weekly pay or was it just paid by the match?
Every 2 weeks.
Okay. Yeah. Someone wants to know if you came up with the dance or what was the inspiration behind it.
Yeah, I came up with the dance. In Germany at that time, like when I was like 14, 15 years old, I started going to the dance clubs, and techno was really famous at that time, very trendy, and that's how we danced in the dance club. And when I moved to the States and I was on the road with the boys, I went one night to the dance clubs with them, and they started playing that kind of music, and I started dancing, and somebody from the WCW office was also there, and he came up to me and said, hey, listen, what are you doing there? And I explained to him, yeah, that's how I dance at home in Germany, to dance in dance clubs. And he said, hey, listen, you have to do that on your entrance and during your match. I said, no, I don't want to do that. But they said, hey, that's going to be good. And I trusted them, and here again, respect the veterans. And I did it. And actually, it was very, very helpful because it made me unique, outstanding, different than anybody else. And so all the fans, I stayed in their memory very, very quickly.
Did you remain married at that time? You said
Yeah.
you were married already, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I got married in the States, actually.
Okay.
Um, I, I, I was engaged, and we had a long distance relationship for about 6 months, and then she came over to the States. In the first couple of years, I think 2 years, she had to go back and forth between Germany and the States because she didn't have a permanent visa. And then we got married in Marietta, Georgia, and then she was me.
Was it hard once you started getting on TV? I would imagine with your gimmick and being young and good looking at that time, you'd have a lot of female fans. Was it hard to resist temptation?
Well, it definitely was hard for my wife, not being jealous, or she had to trust me because I was like 28 days gone, a month at the
Yeah.
beginning from WCW, and she was by herself. But I think I was very lucky to meet my wife before I started in the business and got that big and famous name in the business, because I would never, I think, trust a woman when I would met her afterwards, because I always would think, hey, she's just after the money or whatever. And so I was very happy that we knew each other. She was 16 when I met her, and I was 17. So we were very young together. We're still married. And yeah, for me on my side, of course, as a young guy, there's a lot of temptations. I mean, yeah, it's like in any other sports. If you're on TV, the fans come up to you, females, and want to get to know you and stuff like that. It's much easier than if you're an unknown person. And so there were a lot of temptations, but how should I put this? Every day you get up, you have to look yourself in the mirror. And I always wanted to look myself in the mirror without having a bad feeling. So I loved my wife, and I just, my conscience, how you say, my
Your conscience.
is conscience, right? No,
Yeah.
no, the Gewissen, what's the name in Gewissen? Is that the word? Missing the word. It's hard for me sometimes finding all the words because I don't talk that much English in here over in Germany. But anyway, I didn't want to feel bad. I loved my wife, and I just want to make sure the relationship stays strong and there's a lot of trust. Especially if you don't see that much. So, but it was very hard because in the States and in Canada and everywhere I traveled, there were, of course, a lot of very beautiful women. Yeah, very nice also, but they were too late.
Well, I noticed the guys that stay married and don't screw around on their wives in wrestling end up a lot more successful in the long run, because it seems that a lot of the people that go through many wives or cheat on their wives end up having divorces, and it costs them a lot of money. And then
Yeah,
they get into partying too much, and that costs them a lot of money.
right.
So you seem to have done pretty well for yourself over the years, and
Yeah, I can't complain. I'm still happily married, and it, it, of course, you could say, okay, if I'm on the road, my wife would never find out if I have a girl here and a girl there, but it's just for a few moments in your life, and it's nothing for your soul. It's just sex. So if you want
yeah.
something for your soul, which is love, then you should be faithful.
Do you have any memories of Triple H from his time in WWE or in WCW?
Yeah, actually, he started out with me in WCW. He was there, I think, the time before, and he came back, and then we started both. We were young guys, and we wanted to, get our names on the cards and move up. And I always enjoyed working him. I think my first pay-per-view match at Starrcade was against him, 94, I think, 95, something like that. And
Yeah, I remember that match. What was he like in those days?
he a nice guy.
Yeah.
I like I said, I there's not a lot of guys in the business I can say bad things about, because I always I learned very fast that it's better to surround yourself with positive people than with negative people.
Yeah.
So I always try to stay with those guys who are positive and motivated and have passion and stuff like that. And he was a really nice guy.
Would you ever have expected, now he's pretty much in charge of WWE, he's one of the top executives?
Well, he was always a great performer, great talent. So I knew he's going to be a superstar, that he's going to become the owner or the chief in WWE. No, I didn't know that, but I guess that's logic if you marry the guy, the daughter from Vince, you know.
Somebody wants to know, who was that 1% of not nice guys among wrestlers?
Well, that's the guys which do not understand that it's sport entertainment, and they run around with a big head like that, and they think they're shit, but they forget that a lot of guys have to lay down for them, and they did the job for them, that they can be up there. And guys who don't give autographs to little children or talk shit about everybody, shit stirring backstage politics and using their power and stuff like that, you know, those kind of guys, or even bullies.
As far as everyone always talks about this Paul Roman match of you from Super Brawl, I actually watched it, and it seems to me that there isn't really that much out of the ordinary for the match. It seems
Well,
like,
actually, if you don't know about all the history, it's a normal match, I would say. You know, it's a long time ago, and the thing is that I was able to showcase much more. I mean, and that the WCW office knew what I'm able to do in the ring. So they knew that Paul didn't want to work with me and showcase all that stuff. And that's why they were pissed at him. And because he changed a lot of stuff around, which shouldn't happen that way. You know, but how everything went down was, in my opinion, the fault from the WCW office. You know, I mean, the communication to Paul should have been better, I guess. You know, and said, hey, listen, we really would like to feature this kid. We want to go with him there and there and there. And I think he felt that was kind of like a, how you say, penalty or
yeah, punishment.
Punishment, exactly, punishment to him, because they didn't explain to him what the idea was with my character and where they want to go with me. So
He ended up getting released not too long after that match, didn't he?
yeah, actually, we wrestled a couple weeks on tour against each other, and then he was released. Yeah, it was very sad because he was a really good talent. You know, I mean, if he would have had a match with me like he did in Germany, and he would have worked with me, then I think it would have been more. It would have been, first of all, better for his career, also for my career, and I think that WCW office would have been thankful to him that he helped me move up, and then he could have had a sit down with the WCW office and said, hey, listen, that was not good for me. Why did you do that? And stuff like that. That would have been more professional, I think. But it doesn't matter. It's like over 20 years ago, and there's no
I
more.
guess because a few websites did little videos about it, it's been talked about more recently.
It's still, oh my god, there's nothing bad about that match. I mean, it was still I think a normal good match, you know.
Yeah. And it didn't really seem that stiff, like for the people that were saying like why you weren't fighting back or anything. It wasn't like he really shot on you or anything in that
No,
match.
no. He just worked solid. And like I said, I was used to working solid. I mean, that's how I wrestled anyway. And why I didn't fight back? I mean, I knew something was wrong in the match because we had talked over different stuff. But um, I was 18 years old. I was at the first, I think, first year in WCW, and like I said, I was brought up in the business like you respect the veterans, you respect your trainers, respect the promoters, and that's what I did. For me, my first goal was just to have a good match and to entertain the people. That's what I wanted to do. I was all the backstage politics and stuff like that. It didn't interest me. I just wanted to perform in the ring. I mean, 18 years old. That's you don't have your mind and stuff like that. Oh, if you do this and this, what's going to happen to your career? It didn't matter to me. I just was happy to be there. And after the match, of course, the management came up to me and said, "Hey, listen, if that's going to happen again, you have to look out for yourself." And from that moment on, I knew, okay, it's okay if I fight back in a professional way. And that's what I kept doing then forward on.
Do you think they released him just because he was like a mid card guy, and it's like they don't want people at that level giving them problems and not doing
I
necessarily?
really don't know. I mean, I didn't knew Paul at that time that well. I don't know his history with the WCW office, if there was anything else beforehand, and that was just the last drop, which made him really pissed off. I don't know what happened there, but I know, I'm sure that it wasn't against me. It was against the office, how whatever he decided how to run that match.
A lot of people have been commenting about your matches with Steven Regal, who you mentioned you knew from Germany. Do you have any memories of him to share with us?
Yeah, actually, Steven Regal, he was there in Germany and was in Bremen. And my dad, when I started practicing the backflip from the top corner, which was later on my entrance. Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, it was really great. And yeah, he really nice guy. I always enjoyed working him. I mean, great technical wrestler, great ring psychology.
As far as teaming with Marcus Bagwell, how did you get along with him? You've mentioned him a bunch of times that he was the closest to your age. Were you guys friends behind the scenes?
I would say so. Yeah. I mean, you have to ask him also, but no, we had good times. Like we traveled together and we partied together, and he was. I mean, of course, he had a few years ahead of me in WCW. He was already a superstar, But on the other hand, he still was younger than all the other guys, so he was kind of a little bit in the same spot. He always had to fight up against the veterans somewhere. But no, I can't say anything bad about him.
What are like your favorite years of WCW when you were in there? Is there one year that stands out in particular that you like the most?
Yeah, that was a year when WCW started Nitro, when the live show started. That was yeah, everybody was excited about it, And we went head to head with Raw, and we're beating them in the ratings later on. So, and a lot of new international stars came in the company, like Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio, and all those guys, So there were more guys for me, which wrestled my style. So I was very happy about it. Jericho came in, So it was very cool.
What do you think of the longevity that Jericho's had over the years?
Amazing. I have a lot of respect out to him. I mean, he always was an amazing worker and wrestler and performer, but that he's still active and still having good matches, very impressive. I mean, I still have matches in my school and stuff, and I know how I feel the next day.
Yeah.
So I don't know, want to know how he feels the next day. And he's even, I think, 5 years older than I am.
Would you ever consider going to a company like AEW if they were to make you the right offer?
Well, I definitely would think about it,
Yeah.
Of course. I mean, I'm not that old, I still could perform,
Yeah.
but it all depends about what kind of offer, because I run my own wrestling promotion over here, New European Championship Wrestling. I produced for TV, for Fightbox HD and Fight TV, and for Rocket Beans TV over here. And also I have my school, which is running very, very well. So I couldn't just leave that and say, okay, I sign a 1-year contract and I'm now 200 days gone,
Yeah.
But but I definitely would look and work around that it would work, if the offer is good enough.
Yeah, because I know that with that company, since they don't run that much, they let some of their English wrestlers still live in England.
You
And I
see,
know, yeah, at least one Japanese wrestler still lives in Japan.
yeah. No, I definitely would wrestle for AEW. I think it's a company with a still a bright future. Even that lately, I hear that they lose some spectators in the arenas, but I think they have a bright future.
Yeah.
The only thing, what in my opinion, the psychology, in-ring psychology, they could be should have. Yeah, in my opinion, they kill too many finishes. That strong style is okay, but 5 Canadian destroyers and they get up and stuff like that. That's a little bit too much, I think. But on the other hand, unbelievable talent in AEW. Great athletes.
What do you think of everyone slapping their legs in wrestling now? It used to be like Shawn Michaels and Chris Adams that did it, and people didn't really know the trick. But it seems, as a wrestling trainer, do you teach your students that technique?
I teach them because I think they have to know about it. But there's just a few moves I would recommend doing that, like on a super cake or stuff like that, but not on every other stuff. No.
Someone's asking your thoughts on Virgil passing away. I guess you would have been around him in WCW at some points.
Yeah, a short time. I- Actually, I just found out about it right now. So rest in
Oh,
peace.
you didn't know he died?
No, no, no. I'm
Oh,
very sorry to hear that. No, he
yeah,
was
I
a good
believe
guy,
it was last year.
really nice guy. Yeah.
Is there any? Well, I'm going to guess maybe the wall may have hit you hard, but is there any wrestler in particular that died young that got to you more than others?
Well, Eddie Guerrero. I mean, he was a very nice person, good guy. Yeah, that really hit me.
You mentioned you're producing television now. I guess your promotion is on TV in Germany?
Well, it was on TV till Corona came around, and then because I had a own arena where I could produce anytime TV. It was a set in ring and entrance and all kind of stuff. But then Corona came, and then I had to switch my business strategy. So now I'm going on the road with my company, and I'm not doing TV at the moment because having a TV crew around and all that kind of stuff is much more work. That's the first thing, and then it's much more expensive to produce. So down the road, I will do that again, but at the moment, I only run house shows.
Someone wants to know why they had the girls mob you at center stage, but they wouldn't do it at other arenas. Was it just because that's where they did most of the TV, or?
Um, you should ask some of the office WCW office guys. Maybe it was just because at that in center stage there was no railing which kept them away.
Ah,
The other arenas there were like the what's it called, railings, right?
guardrails, yeah.
Yeah, guardrails, exactly.
Did you have much contact with the Ultimate Warrior when he was back there?
No, not really. No, I was too. I mean, he was a nice guy, but he was a superstar, and I just came into the company, and I'm 18 years old, I
Was
was not visible, let's say,
How was Hulk Hogan?
Another guy, I can't say anything bad about it. A really nice guy. I mean, he was a very calm guy. He was very polite. He said to everybody hello backstage. And I know from other people who worked with him, like promoters and event stuff, that he always did his job very well. He was always professional. So I can't say anything about it. I mean, there were other guys which had not that status of Hogan, and they were conceited and had a big head like that. They walked around backstage and didn't say hello to anybody. So, I mean, of course, Hogan knew his status, and I'm sure in certain topics or certain points of his career, he used his power, of course, but who wouldn't do that? I mean, he had to
Yeah.
protect his name.
What was Goldberg like?
Very intense, very, very cool guy. Um, Unbelievable strength, unbelievable athlete. I met him the first time in the power plant, and yeah, it's no wonder that he got that over with the audience. I just wish that WCW would gave him much more time to develop as a pro wrestler.
Do you think that they cut off his streak too earlier, or do you think that they could have? It was the right time to end it because it seemed like there was a lot of momentum going at that time behind him when they cut the streak. To me,
I don't. I don't know. I mean, being now 50 years old, I would say it was okay to cut it if they planned that they put him like in a position where he had to lead the matches and he had to, is the guy who's in charge of the match and stuff like that, and that they could rely just on him as a top main event carder, then it's maybe okay if they thought, okay, we give him time to develop his wrestling skills much more and in-ring psychology and stuff like that. But
did you work with Randy Savage at all?
I mean, I talked a lot with him. I traveled with him a lot, or a few times I traveled with him. I think working wise, nah. I guess I bumped for him or something like that.
Right.
And I worked in the 60-man battle royal there. Well,
Oh, World War III, yeah.
I think we had some contact there.
You mentioned that Ric Flair played a role in you getting hired. How was your relationship with him?
I would say very good. I mean, Rick, he was always one of the veterans who were for the young guys. I mean, any young guy who had a match with him, and if he respected you, he had a great match with you. I mean, he always gave the young guys a lot in the matches. Not like other guys who didn't want to sell for you or nothing.
Yeah.
So he was a great worker. I learned a lot from him. Yeah, and I'm very grateful that he gave me the chance back then in Germany.
How was the backstage politics? Did you pretty much just keep yourself out of that in WCW?
Yeah, I try to do that because it's just fucks with your mind, you know, and makes you dissatisfied. And I mean, it's tough, you know, to perform and not being happy and stuff like that. And if you always look, hey, this guy gets that much money and this guy gets that much money, and I would like to, you know, have that much money, and I don't want to sell for this guy and that guy. For my priority was to have good matches, and it didn't matter to me if it was a regular house show or just a Saturday night show or a pay-per-view. I always try to perform good, you know, for the audience, for the promoter, for myself. So
Someone's asking on here, why didn't Bischoff push you as a serious wrestler? I think at various points they did give you little pushes, and you held titles.
right. Well, actually, in my opinion, I was a serious wrestler. You
Yeah.
know, I always try to show my in-ring skills. That was the disadvantage of the dance, that some of the hardcore fans did not look past the dancing and looked what I am able in the ring. But yeah, like I can't say anything bad about it. I mean, I was like mid-20s. I traveled the world. I made really good money. I built up a lot of fame. Met a lot of people. Wrestled a lot of superstars. You know, and I was allowed to have those three titles. You know, what you just mentioned in the beginning: a TV title, tag team title, and cruiserweight title. So actually, I'm very happy with that. I mean, that they didn't push me to the as a main eventer on top card at my age. That's fine, you know. You
Did you
know.
ever wrestle Haku?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. Very tough guy.
Yeah.
Very strong guy. Yeah, yeah. Of course I did. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna guess you probably never saw him in action in any of his bar altercations.
Nope. But I heard a lot of stories about that. Unbelievable.
Yeah. As far as that Berlin character, it looked like they were going to give you a top push for a while there with that character and giving you the vignettes and everything. What happened with that? Was there just too many changes in creative at that time, and it kind of?
Well, it was just the timing. Yeah, because it was my idea to change my gimmick because thank you, John. um, because I wanted to go away from that pretty boy image. You know, I thought, you know, something different, totally different. And I came up with that idea, and Eric liked it and said, "Hey, cool idea. We're gonna debut it." And but that was right at the time when WCW had problems, and Vince Russo came in, and there was a lot of backstage politics and stuff like that. And then when Vince Russo took over the company, he didn't want to continue ideas from Eric Bischoff. That's why they cut it off. I thought it had a lot of potential. It was a really cool gimmick. And if I would have went with that gimmick to WWE, I think they would have pushed it through the roof.
Why did you never go to WWE? There's been lots of people asking that as this interview has been going on.
Well, during my time in WCW, maybe it's because I was too young, or maybe I was too loyal. In Europe, we are very loyal, so to say, and they gave me my chance. They paid me good, and I mean, like I said, I can't complain. I mean, it was a great time in my life, and why should I go to a different company? I know there was interest because a lot of other guys told me through, you know, I knew there's interest, but I said, hey, I made really good money. I was happy. I knew all my colleagues. I liked all the colleagues I had. So I said, I'm going to stay with the company, being loyal, you know. And later on, when WCW was sold to WWE, they contacted me twice, WWE, and asked me if I'm interested and if I want to come. And but that wasn't the right time because I was straight with the company with WCW for many years, and Had a lot of injuries. My body was totally fucked up. My mentally, I was fucked up just because of all the backstage politics and shit like that. So I said, hey, I need a break, and I didn't want to end up like some of my colleagues. And I had to take a time out. And when they contacted me, I said, hey, listen, I'm very grateful. I'm very honored, but I cannot do it. If I can't give 100% for you guys, for the promoter, or 100% for the fans or for myself, it's not good to go in the ring.
Is there anyone you wish you would have wrestled in WWE?
Pardon me again?
Is there a particular wrestler that you wish you could have wrestled in WWE?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The Rock or Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, those guys. I mean, Stone Cold, I wrestled in WCW, so that was
yeah. That's true. How was that?
Oh, that's amazing. I mean, it's walk in the park was that guy. I mean, he was just so great in the ring.
Last question here. Any Nasty Boys stories? They were known to pick on the young guys. Did they ever try anything with you?
No, actually, they did not try anything. We got along very, very good. And I have a lot of stories about them. But they're not for the public.
Oh, I can imagine. The Godfather told me a terrible, terrible, terrible rib that they did to him on the weekend. Yeah, they were known for the bad ribs, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it depended if they liked you or not. Or I think when I met them, they were already a little bit calmed down.
As far as your wrestling school, where can people find out information about it?
Well, on my website, it's www.prowrestlingschool.de, or you just search on the internet. Like I'm on Facebook with my company, New European Championship Wrestling, or with my wrestling school, The Right Stuff. Or you find me on Instagram, or on X, you find me there. So if you have any questions or would like to learn wrestling, then contact me.
Is your school more old school training?
Yes. Well, I, of course, count in all the changes which happened in the last 20 years. But I think the old school is in my opinion, the best way to learn wrestling.
And how often are you running your company right now?
My promotion,
Yes.
I run like a monthly. I try to get that going again monthly.
Do you go to different towns, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, a very, very good show last year was here in Bavaria, and we had 1,600 spectators, which is for Germany very, very much.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
For an independent.
Yeah, and mostly my own guys, which I trained. So that makes me, as a trainer, very proud.
Are you recognized a lot in Germany? I know it's been a few decades since WCW, but you were
It used to be like that, but now, like you say, it's a while, and the wrestling fans still know me, but the regular people now, which I'm very happy about that. So I can act stupid when I would like to, running around doing stupid stuff.
Do you have kids or anything?
Yeah, I have a son. He's 16 years old.
Is he having any plans to get in the wrestling business?
No, he's actually doing MMA.
Okay.
And sword fighting and stuff like that. Yeah, and kickboxing stuff. And he's more.
So I guess you can grapple with him with some of your grappling knowledge.
Yeah, I grapple a lot with him, but he's getting too strong for me now. So I have to put some shoot holes on him.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. There's still a lot to ask you, so maybe down the road we could do it again. But I'll let you. Oh, yeah. Great!
Thank you very much.
I'll let you close this off with whatever you want to tell the fans to shut this down.
Achtung, Achtung, vielleicht komme ich irgendwann mal nach Kanada. Großartiges Land. Würde mich sehr freuen. See you guys someday in Canada.